Hello and welcome along to another episode of this FM19 story, The Head Coach with me, Daniel. It's season 14, episode 3, and today we play what presumably will be the first of 4 title deciders this season. We're at home to Porto, one of our 2 big title rivals this year. Is Porto Benfica or us for the title? Can we do it with Sporting Lisbon? It's going to be an important game today, but Porto haven't had the best start to the season themselves. They've already dropped 3 points from their 2 games, and if we go and have a look at it, it wasn't an absolute superstar team. They lost at home to a mid-table side. They scored the winner in the 95th minute as well, so certainly an interesting game, but the first of 4 league games we'll definitely show you this year, and it is still going to be a crucial one, as I'm sure we'll slip up at least once this season too. The previous meetings haven't gone well for the club, but we're a new manager with a fresh face, and hopefully that'll do the job for us today. We have got a massive bit of injury news though. Our brilliant Israeli left winger's out injured. He picked it up in the midweek Champions League game, which we'll obviously go and show you a bit more detail of in a moment. He was an absolute hero for us in that one, but now he's going to be out for a month, and we don't have any top class replacements. We've also managed to sign Anthony Vernier now. We mentioned in the last episode that Hugo Viana was trying to do that, and he has now joined the club, but he's still out with a little knock for a few more days, so he should be back after the international break. In the meantime, our club legend and captain Bernardo Souza continues to dazzle. 3 goals for him in all competitions, and he continues to perform brilliantly to make up for our shortcomings in other areas. But before we get into this game today, we will go and have a look at the schedule, and we've got some transfer news as well, as our director of football continues his massive fire sale, and he's really struggling to get replacements in. So you're with me for the 2-0 victory in the Super Cup final, a brilliant performance last time out against Benfica, and then we mentioned that we had a relatively easy Champions League game away against Victoria Pelsen. We won that leg 1-0 with Gerardo getting the winner, and then stumbled to a 0-0 draw at home, which was obviously good enough on aggregate. Then in the first league game of the season we played Pacos Ferreira, a fantastic result there. Bernardo Souza getting a brace, with Schürrle and Michel adding 1 apiece, a 4-0 victory and a comprehensive win to set us up nicely for this one. Then we drew Celtic in the Champions League final qualifier. We won 2-1 away from home, and you can see it was the young winger Ben Harush with a brilliant brace either side of the break. Ryan Sessegnon got 1 back for Celtic, but it wasn't enough on the night as we nicked a 2-1 victory. It should mean we're going to get through comfortably in the second leg. We've just got to be astute defensively, and the job will certainly be done. So a massive week for us, looking forward to the rest of the season, making sure we get into the Champions League group stages and trying to get ahead in the title race with a big win at home against Porto. But that's not the most important news in this episode. We've also got to talk about transfer news. You can see our director of football's been trying to sign players. One more that's familiar in Pedro, the right back. He offered him 56 grand a week. He rejected that. I think he's earning more than that at Newcastle. He is, so why on earth would he come down to this level for less money as well? It doesn't seem sensible at all. And he tried to sign a central midfielder from River Plate, De Campo, for 7.75 million. Only offered him 40 grand a week, and he's now gone and rejected us for Celta Vigo. So we've still only got 2 fit central midfielders, and if one of those gets an injury, I have no idea what we'll do. But in terms of the history, there's been some more deals as well. A few leaving the club, 2 of the 3 were permanent, and we've made the 2 signings as well, although not in positions we really needed players. So in the outs, we loaned out Jallo to Rayo Vallecano, obviously a really hot prospect, a young wonder kid who did come on in that Super Cup final, and hopefully he'll have a good season in Spain. I can see he scored on his debut, and hopefully he'll continue to do that all season. A brilliant start for him, and hopefully he'll come back a world-class player. Josko, the left-back, went to Red Bull Salzburg. We knew that deal was happening in the last episode. We were just waiting for everything to be finalised, and he has now finally left the club. 16.75 million's a good deal, considering he's managed to get Vernier in for nothing. And then we've also helped up our former club Napoli. Our director of football selling our striker Robin Dierkes, a brilliant Austrian striker, but he was 3rd choice with the arrival of Gerardo, so it seems like we've swapped players in that position too. He scored 2 in 2 goals at Napoli, and hopefully he'll be a good signing for them. I hope we don't miss him too much. If our other 2 strikers stay fit, we should be fine for this season at least. But that leads to 2 ins, one of whom we're obviously familiar with, and the other one we briefly looked at in the last episode, a goalkeeper from Tottenham for £8 million. Why on earth we've signed him I'm not quite sure, just after we spent loads on a first choice keeper. He's on 60 grand a week and he's offered him a contract as a key player, so to reflect on that, in the last month he signed 2 goalkeepers as key players. How on earth are we going to keep them both happy? This one's nowhere near as good. 3-star ability, 3-star potential, so we'll just try and play him in the cup games and the Champions League qualifiers like the Celtic one, where we're already all but through after the first leg. He has played for Tottenham and West Ham in the Premier League, so at least he's got experience and is a decent player. The second signing's obviously a very familiar one, Anthony Vernier from Manchester City, a 3.5-star left back with 4-star potential, first choice for us last year at Napoli, played a few games for City before that too, and he's going to be a brilliant addition to the squad. We've still got Ruben to compete with him for the first team, but Vernier will certainly be first choice once fit again. So a decent 2 signings, but we're really short in certain positions still. We've only got a bare 18 today, and that's with Vernier on the bench despite having a knock. We haven't got another option to replace him, so just 17 players fit in the squad, including 2 goalkeepers, who we're not going to be able to keep happy for long. We've still got no real first choice right back, we've got a transfer listed winger on the bench, we've got no options in central midfield if we get an injury, so it isn't looking good in terms of balance, but we've just got to try and get a good start to the year and hope our director of football comes good. He's got 1 week left in the transfer window, loads of money and wages to spend, and that's why I don't understand why he's offering such poor wages, because he's got 300 grand on the wage budget, and if he spent that on 2 or 3 brilliant players, we'd be competing at the top all season. But that's enough complaints about Hugo Viana. We said he wasn't a brilliant director of football, his attributes didn't look brilliant, and unfortunately it's been proven this window. Hopefully he won't sell any more players though, aside from that transfer listed winger. He was already transfer listed when we joined the club, and we're more than happy to see him go, as he's only an average player. But we're at home to Porto today in a massive league game, so we've got to turn our attentions back to the pitch and try and prepare the lads as well as possible. We're just about favourites for this game, probably just because of the fact we're at home. There isn't much in it between the two sides, almost identical records in their previous meetings. We're in excellent form, but we've played more games because of the Champions League qualifiers. Porto go into the Europa League this year, so hopefully that means they'll be slightly weaker. Our director of football did try to sign a player from there. I'll try and find him if I can, but unfortunately he decided to sign a new contract instead, so we didn't get that deal over the line in the end. That player was a central midfielder, Romario Barro, a 30-year-old experienced Portuguese international, and unfortunately the deal couldn't be done as he stayed at Porto for the better wage. He's played 262 games for them, and it would have been brilliant to take a first team player off our rivals, but unfortunately it wasn't to be, so Porto are still as strong today. But let's go and look at our lineup for this game. It pretty much picks itself. We've only got 17 fit players, so we weren't going to be able to do too much. The 18 isn't flexible at all, as even the under 23 players are unavailable. Vernier's got a knock but has to be in the squad, though we'll try and avoid using him if possible. So we've got Fabrizio in goal, Matteo and Ruben are the fullbacks, with Pacquiao and Michel in the middle, Schürrle and Cunha in central midfield, no replacements if they perform poorly, Hyosung on the right hand side with Ronald covering on the left, his first start since we joined the club, and then Sousa in attacking midfield. Hopefully he'll save the day for us again, with Akede Gerardo playing up front ahead of him. Let's go and get into the game. We'll continue with our positive mentality, and hopefully it'll be enough to nick a win in this one. It's a 4-1-4-1 for Porto, a little bit more defensive today. They are trying to set out defensively for a point, but I think they're going to have a threat on the break, and it's going to be difficult for us to win this one. Hopefully we won't concede. We have been good defensively so far, but we need to make sure we maintain that today, otherwise it could be a very long day. In front of our fans it's important we don't lose, but if we can nick a win it would be very much appreciated. Most of the lads are confident or motivated, and hopefully they'll respond with a good first half performance. Let's go and get into the first half, see who's got the kick-off. It's us and Porto are in a change strip again. We're playing in green and white, and they've changed from blue to white. It doesn't make sense at all. I really wish you could change the away kits used in FM. It's the only complaint I've had this year. So often it's been an inappropriate choice. The first highlight ends very quickly, and Ronald's picked up a tight hamstring on the left wing, and guess what? We haven't got any replacements, as he's already in for the injured Ben Harush. 15 minutes gone, it's been a quiet game so far, and it remains 0-0 in a tense affair. Over half an hour gone, it's Bernardo Souza with a free kick. He puts it wide. It's been an awful game so far. That's the first highlight we've seen since that little one from the kick-off, and it's an average free kick that's gone well wide. Matteo with a long throw though as we start to get on top. Schürrle's cross is blocked. Back to Matteo again, the right back. A right winger who's naturally covering there as we don't have any other options to cover fullback. Cunha gets the ball into Souza. Can we get a moment of magic from him? Out to Ronald on the left back, and he finds Ruben, the overlapping winger. Second time in a row, it's into Hyo-sung. He's been fouled surely. They're going to look at the VAR. The referee gave the penalty, so I'm guessing it'll probably be overturned, as normally that's what happens when we see this screen. Let's hope the referee does us a favour. I'm not sure who our penalty taker will be. I think it's Bernardo Souza. The referee is giving a penalty. Bernardo Souza will take it, and fingers crossed he'll do the job again. He's already scored one against Pacos Ferreira. Into the bottom corner. We take the lead against Porto. An awful game of football and no real chances for either side, but we get the lead courtesy of a penalty after a clumsy challenge in the box from Porto. We lead our title rivals 1-0, and this is a fantastic sign at the start of the season. We already beat Benfica in the Super Cup. Can we now beat our other rivals in the league? Almost half time, and we lead 1-0. Okay, we got through the 2 minutes of stoppage time unscathed. We did pick up a yellow card at centre half. Porto picked one up themselves. It's been a really nothing game in truth. It's hard for us to make an assessment of it, as the only highlights we saw was a free kick going wide and a penalty being given and tucked away. We haven't seen anything from Porto, and I imagine that's a very good sign, but they have had 2 shots registered on target, so we've got to be wary of that in the second half. We're going to tell the lads not to get complacent. Most of them are motivated or focused. We do often early in our career at a club tend to drift away from our assistant manager's recommendations, so on this occasion he said let's do it for the fans, but I don't want to respond with that just yet. Let's go and get back into the second half. Ronald seems to have recovered from his hamstring strain as Porto have the kick off at centre half. Henrique finds Romario. He gets it wide to the right wing and they can start to charge at the defence. The highlight ends, and with 5 minutes gone in the second half we still lead 1-0 and look comfortable at home. Mateo's got the ball on the right hand side to Hyo-sung. He's challenged and now it's cleared away on the left. Panini coming forward to Brobby, but Paxiao nicks in and wins the header. Not bad for a player who can't jump, and now it's wide on the left to Ronald. He delivers to the back post. Hyo-sung gets up, beats the fullback in the air and puts it in the top corner. A brilliant header from the right winger, and we now lead 2-0 against Porto. It's all going right in the big title clash, and it's a brilliant start to the season so far. If we get a couple more injuries we will be in trouble, but as long as Viana adds some players to this squad we could be in contention for the title in no time. Souza into Hyo-sung, brilliant save by the keeper again. We're really getting on top in this game now as Porto hacked the ball away. Michel wins it back on the halfway line, and with an hour gone it's still 2-0 and we're looking comfortable with our threadbare squad. Just 15 minutes to go and there's nothing else happening, so we are going to go and make a couple of changes. Gerardo's going to be replaced by Rivera up front. He's not had the best of games in truth. The 2 centre midfielders are really struggling and they've been our poorest outfield performers, but we don't have many substitute options. Souza's not had the best game and he's absolutely knackered, so I'm going to rest him for midweek, with Tomic, the young attacking midfielder, coming on in his place for the last 10. Let's get back into the game and see if we can hold on for a comfortable win. It's a throw at right back for Porto. Henrique takes it into Romario and he finds Moxica on the right hand side. Into Henrique in the middle and he finds Marquez up front. Back to Henrique again. Porto have gone 4-3-3. We might need to adapt our tactic for that. We'll just see out this highlight first. Henrique in the middle again. Wide to the left back Valencia, who's really pushing forward and overlapping now. Marquez shoots. It's a brilliant save for Brizio. Let's go and make a couple of tactical tweaks. We're going to drop to a balanced mentality. We're going to focus our play down the right and left wing as they've now got plenty of space out there. We're going to attack with a bit more width, try and get the 2 wingers into the game as there's now plenty of space out there. Even if they just keep the ball and cross it in, that's plenty enough for us in the last 10 minutes when we've got a 2-goal cushion already. We're going to get back into the game and see out this corner, and then we will change the fullback's duties should we survive and it's still 2-0. We have managed to survive it and now we've got a long throw. Ruben delivers it into the box. Headed away by Porto to Ruben again. He goes back to Paxiao on halfway, and he just plays it along the back to Matteo. He's got 2 out on the right, but he's been robbed of possession. Enrique's running in one-on-one. Brilliant recovery tackle from Paxiao, and Hyosung puts it out for a throw on the right. Awful defending from Matteo, and that's where we see that he's not really a fullback, but Paxiao does a brilliant job there to recover and make the challenge to ensure that we keep our 2-goal lead. Both centre-halves are on covering duties, and that worked well on that occasion. With weaker fullbacks, I always recommend it, as we get those last-ditch challenges like that. Hyosung's picked up a knock now as well, another player we can't afford to lose. We don't have a backup option on the right wing, aside from the transfer-listed Silva. We've got 3 minutes of stoppage time to see out. Hopefully it'll be a comfortable victory. Hyosung with the corner, in towards Schürrle, but he's been challenged and it's cleared away by Porto. Ruben loses out in the air to Enrique, but he does get to the second ball in time. Matteo with the ball at right back, doesn't make the same mistake again, plays a 1-2 with Michel, and hopefully he can work it down the line. Schürrle in the Mazzala role, drifts wide to find Hyosung. Now Kuna to Tomic to substitute. There's a man out on the left hand side, and with 2 seconds of stoppage time remaining, it's going to be a comfortable 2-0 win. A fantastic performance by the boys, not the best game of football, but we did an efficient job against our title rivals and got the 3 points at this early stage of the season. We'll tell the lads it was a good win, well done to all of them, and hopefully the injuries won't be too bad, as we can't afford to lose players with the lack of replacements from our director of football. We've got loads of money available, and it's so frustrating watching them not be replaced. But the lads are all delighted with that team talk, so let's go and see what the media have said about the game. We're top on 6 points with Benfica and a couple of other sides up there. We've got the best goal difference, so I'm not sure how the title works here. If it's head-to-head record, then how are they working it out when we've not played against the side who are top? I'm not sure how all of that works, but as long as we're in top spot at the end of the season, I don't care what happens in the meantime. Let's go and see what the media have said about the game. We triumph in the derby with a brilliant performance. It should get the fans on side as well. Early in our tenure, we've beaten both rivals, and that should bode well for the rest of the season. We've got an injury to Hyosung to have a look at, just 1 to 2 days, which is exactly what we needed. We've got no other right winger bar the transfer listed one, who we may give an outing to against Celtic in midweek, depending on how well this lad recovers. Otherwise we'll get him back in the lineup if we can. But another really good day on the pitch, plenty of bad news off it as always. I'm really a bit baffled by this transfer window. I hope our director of football's got a big week in store for us. Let's go and have a look at our budgets just to remind you of what's remaining. 68 million in terms of transfer budget and 300 grand on the wage budget. We just need to get a couple of players in. Yes, a right back and a winger would be great, and a central midfielder is a must, but if we can just add a few bodies to the squad, at least we'll be able to fill a bench. The one positive bit of news is we've got some more friendly games on paper coming up in the league, as well as our first couple of League Cup ties. The Portuguese Cup starts in October too, so that's another domestic competition to look forward to. We want to try and get as many domestic trophies as possible, as we're likely only going to be here for 1 year, unless we manage to throw away the title, where Benfica will surely be our biggest opposition now. You can see there's a big game coming up against them. That's in November at home in the league, so in between that we're just going to have one episode, and hopefully if all goes well in midweek, that'll be our first Champions League game. So we'll see you again for one of our first couple of games in that competition, and then we'll be back for the big one in the league, as we try to wrap up the title early on by getting a big lead over Benfica. But if you did enjoy this episode and that brilliant performance in the derby, please do put a thumbs up on the video. It looks like we're on course to reach the Champions League groups as well, and if we can do that, we'll perhaps be a more attractive proposition for players looking to join in the last few days of the window. Hopefully that'll help Hugo Viana out, and he'll be able to deliver a few big name signings. Let me know where you think we most need reinforcements. For me, it's definitely central midfield and right back, and I'd quite like to add a bit of quality on the wing as well. But the 2 positions we really need cover, we need to make sure they get sorted by the end of the window. Obviously, we're not in charge of that, and as we saw earlier in our career, with teams like Slough and Dungannon Swifts, that's where our frustration can come in this save. So our success will be determined by our director of football, but in the meantime, we're doing everything right on the pitch. Still unbeaten at our new club, and we couldn't ask for much more at this stage. Subscribe to the channel for daily FM19 content from my 2 long-term stories. This one, The Head Coach, where it should be a brilliant new adventure in another new league. And then our 1 club story with Torquay United, where we try to take them to the top of English and European football. We're a few episodes into the new season of that one, so go back and check it out if you're not up to date so far. There's also 3 episodes a week from my Cricket 19 career, every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday at midday. We're really enjoying that one at the moment, so I hope you're enjoying the content too. We also did a 10-part Ashes Test playthrough from that game, which I really enjoyed, and a massive thank you to everyone who supported that. I really do appreciate it. We'll also be continuing our weekly Snooker 19 career. That's every Friday at 4:30, and you can follow our progress as we try to take Sean O'Sullivan to the top of the world snooker rankings. But a massive thanks for watching this one as always, and your continued support with the series and all of our content across the channel. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to see you next time for another big game, as we hope to see some action from the Champions League group stages, as well as meeting a few big last minute signings.